I can leave anytime. There's a couple reasons. We will announce that, though. Welcome to our City Council meeting. Appreciate everyone being here today. Can't imagine what all the excitement is. Actually, I can imagine a few things. Yeah. So we will begin tonight by having invocation. We have Reverend Laura Howlett. Did I say it correctly? From the Center for Spiritual Living. She will offer an invocation, and then we will have a flag ceremony and the Pledge of Allegiance we'll say together, and that the flag ceremony will be done by the Troop 0509, the Elks Club sponsored troop. Reverend.
Thank you. Would you join with me in consciousness as we turn within to that place of deep connection? And it is from this place that I know that there is only one power, one presence, one divine creative source of all. And though it goes by many names and shows up in many incarnations, I simply know it is God. And I know that God is all there is. I know that God is the beginning and the end. It is that eternal, everlasting presence that indwells all of creation. I know that there is only this one power and this one presence, manifesting itself as unconditional love, as perfect peace, as clarity and wisdom and divine interconnection. And I know that that one is the indwelling presence in each one of us. I know that each one of us is that unique manifestation of God, brought here to do its work in this time, in this place. And so I know that the work that is done here today is divinely guided and directed. It has been created in the mind of God and brought forth to these wonderful people to do this work, to our beloved mayor and city council members who have so lovingly and generously given of themselves for the betterment of our community. And so I know everything that happens here today transpires easily and effortlessly, for it is already done in the mind of God, and we simply relax into that knowing and allow it to unfold under grace and in perfect ways. And for this and so much more, I am eternally grateful. And so I just simply allow this time to open, calling it good and very good. And so it is, and so we let it be. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend. Troop 0509.
Color guard attention, scouts attention. Will the audience please rise? Color guard forward march, scout right hand salute. Post the colors. Please follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. 2. Color guard dismissed. Scouts dismissed. The audience may be seated.
Well done. Thank you. Pleased to have the Scouts with us today. Might just mention that seated just down the road from them, we have the Girl Scouts, Troop 71, also sponsored by the Elks. Thank you for being here as well. So we've got several things that are kind of pre-formal agenda tonight that we would like to do, and the first thing I want to do is mention to the public, 3 o'clock today, several of us from the city went down to Town Square where there's a bunch of people gathered. They all looked really skinny, buff, in tight clothes and stuff. But anyway, I think it's about Ironman, right? It's Ironman Weekend. We were able to announce together with the county and the state and Ironman that we have renewed our contract with them for 5 more years. We're just finishing our 10th, and there's a 6th event. We've been selected to host the World Championship Ironman 70.3 in the year 2021. It's a big deal. So that is a 2-day event, folks, and so we'll give you 2 years of warning, and we're going to need lots of help. It's a huge thing. We're very honored to be selected for that. So anyway, that was today, and also this morning had a wonderful. I don't know how many of you would be thinking about this, but this has been proclaimed since President Ronald Reagan, and formally, but even back to President Harry Truman, as a National Day of Prayer. And President Reagan said it would be the first Thursday of the month of May each year, so he kind of formalized it a step further. But this morning we had a very nice celebration of our own version of the National Day of Prayer at the Dixie Center, led by the Interfaith Council, and which is really a cool thing that we get to do here. It's been going on for 10 years now in terms of this Interfaith Council. There's about 17 or 18 different faith groups that belong to this. And it was really amazing. We had the Bishop of the Catholic Church of all of Utah here speaking, and in fact he's speaking at an event tonight at the LDS Tabernacle right down the street. So a great day, busy day, but just kind of, I guess, that's typical for St. George, right, everybody?
You know,
another busy day.
Mary, you just described slim and trim. You just described our chief of police, our Mark Mortensen and Carlos, the whole group of them that are responsible.
City manager.
City manager.
Kind of left me off that list, didn't you?
You know.
Yeah, Jimmy's described. Anyway, yeah, it's great stuff going on. We're excited. All these things that, tie in well to who we are in our community and welcoming the world. So, okay, so shifting gears now, have a couple of proclamations, Council, I'd like to read tonight and celebrate with the community. First of all, tied to the Elks, we have a proclamation on what's called Youth Week, and this is kind of a cool thing because we have, as you can see, we have a bunch of Elks with us tonight, and you thought city councilor was a cool title, or mayor, or city manager, but how would you like to be the exalted ruler? We have Lynn Murray, who's the exalted ruler of the Elks this year, and a few years ago her husband Tim was the exalted ruler. They call them ERs, but I think exalted ruler is a pretty awesome title. Can I read this first, Lynn?
Yes, please.
And then I'd love to have you share a few thoughts. Whereas the Benevolent and Protective Order of the Elks has designated the first week in May as Youth Week to honor America's junior citizens for their accomplishments and to give fitting recognition of their services to community, state, and nation. And whereas St. George Dixie Lodge will sponsor an observance during that week in tribute to the junior citizens of this community, and whereas no event could be more deserving of our support and participation than one dedicated to these young people who represent the nation's greatest resource and who in the years ahead will assume the responsibility for the advancement of our free society. And whereas our youth need the guidance, inspiration, and encouragement which we alone can give in order to help develop those qualities of character essential for future leadership and go forth to service America. And whereas to achieve this worthy objective, we should demonstrate our partnership with youth, our understanding of their hopes and aspirations, and a sincere willingness to help prepare them in every way for the responsibilities and opportunities of citizenship. Now, therefore, I, Jonathan T. Pike, Mayor of the City of St. George, do hereby proclaim the first week of May as Youth Week. And so that's what we're here to proclaim. And so now I'd like to give Lynn Murray, exalted ruler of the Elks, Dixie Elks, a chance just to make a few comments, and then I'll bring this down to you.
Thank you, Mayor Pike and council members. I would like to thank you for proclaiming this first week of May for Elks National Youth Week. We will have many events going on at the lodge this week. As you can see, we have a Boy Scout troop and a Girl Scout troop. And we are having our scholarship and award banquet night this week, which will be about 200 of your principals, parents, and students who will be receiving awards and scholarships. We are going to be giving away $46,000 in scholarships just to Washington County on that Monday, which is amazing. We've also contributed $2.5 million to our community here in St. George. We invest in the communities through programs that help children grow up healthy and drug-free by understanding projects that address unmet needs. We sponsor with the City of St. George the Smart Start Fundamental Youth Program that goes all year long. We do the Flying Fish. We also have the Junior Golf. We have many other youth programs like Mill Creek High School, Children Eye Fair, the All Ability Park, the Soup Kitchen, the Hoop Shoot, and Americanism essays, which we go through the schools to do. We have the Student of the Month, Student of the Year scholarships, and we also do a teddy bear closet for the Dixie Medical Emergency Room for those that are hurting or need just a little comfort. We also have an art dance, which is for our disabled citizens once a month. We also help the Dove Center and the Crisis Center, and we also have a very good drug awareness program. We'd like to thank the mayor and the council members for helping us and co-sponsoring our endeavors with the city and the community and allowing us to come and receive a proclamation for the Elks National Youth Week. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Just present this to you, and if you want a picture, if you want to face that way.
David, I'll get it first, and then you get it. And we're going to do one more thing, too.
Get one for David. There we go. Thank you very much. We appreciate all that the Elks do, and the scholarships are a big one, but a great contributors to our community. Thanks so much. Thank you. Okay, there's got to be another week, right? It's also Nurses Week, or at least it will be. Let's see. It will be. Where's Veronica? Oh, there you are. Okay. So, whereas the state of Utah is committed to leading healthcare breakthroughs and prioritizing medical care for all residents, and recognizes those devoted to patient care, including 3,394 licensed practical nurses and 28,895 registered nurses in Utah. And we need them all, right? Yeah, and more. And whereas nursing is not only a noble profession, but a calling to get dedicated individuals who are caretakers, advocates, leaders, and healers, and who administer beneficial and life-saving aid to those in need. That's going to go well with something we have in a few minutes. And whereas pursuing an education in nursing requires students to acquire comprehensive medical knowledge and successfully complete a battery of rigorous exams and exhibit the stamina and dedication necessary to meet the demands of a nursing workload, and whereas diversity within the nursing profession is essential for providing caretakers who reflect the population of the communities they serve and wholly understand and empathize with local values and health concerns, and whereas Nurses Week has been established by the American Nurses Association as a national association of nurses, as a national observance of nurses, commencing on May 6th and coinciding with May 12th, the anniversary of the birth of Florence Nightingale, the mother of modern nursing, who revolutionized public health and brought about sweeping changes that would profoundly reform healthcare and professionalize the field of nursing, significantly improving patient survival and recovery rates and elevating the state of nurses. And whereas this year's National Nurses Week promotes the theme of 4 million reasons to celebrate, recognizing the 4 million nursing professionals nationwide who improve the lives of others by vigilantly guarding patient welfare and dignity, and administering professional medical care. And whereas Observing Nurses Week reaffirms Utah's commitment to honor, promote, and raise awareness for the nursing profession, whose members have given selflessly to better the world. Now, therefore, I, Jonathan T. Pike, Mayor of the City of St. George, do hereby proclaim the week of May 6th, 2019 as Nurses Week. So, Veronica, let's see, we have with us, it's Veronica Shakespeare. Would you come forward? Is there anything you'd like to say? And then I'll come present that to you.
I just want to take the time and say thanks so much to your council members and our mayor here in St. George. I just moved here about a year ago from Southern California and living with my son and his family here in St. George, and just loves it. And I am the lead faculty at Nightingale College for the St. George area. And I'm grateful for that. I meet so many people, so many of you from all areas, and trying to help the nurses. Well, some of them are LPNs, but some of them even aren't. And we're trying to educate them, motivate them, and elevate them to be successful nurses. They can be an RN or have a baccalaureate degree, whatever stage they want. We are here to help them. I have other faculties that helps me with this learning. We don't have a traditional school per se. We have hubs, we call it, and currently we are located at Bella Terra. That's where our hub is. As we work with them as partnership, if their nurses want to further their education, CNAs, even some of the housekeepers came to me and they want to go into nursing, we are there to help them, and we do give them discount because they are our partners. We also do clinicals at the VA, Coral Desert, Seasons, also Bella Terra, and St. George Care. And the many people that we meet and share the knowledge and the experience that we have and our value and our mission, share it with them. How they represent us and how they feel about us, we elevate them, and they are so engaged of what we have to offer. We are here to improve the community. We know there's a great shortage in nursing, and we are here to help. And when I'm saying we just have 28 nurses that went through and graduating next week. And I'm so proud of them. Some of them are here from St. George. Some of them came from Las Vegas. Some of them are from Beaver. And they heard about us, and they just want to join and to learn. And when these nurses are graduate, the nurses, excellent nurses. They need to be accepted in the community to able to treat us. One of us might be in that bed one day, and here comes my nurses. So we have to make sure they are qualified and they able to take care of the patients. We have qualified nurses, they are knowledgeable, and I could stand here and stand behind them. I've been a nurse over 31 years and at Kaiser, and I retired there, early retirement, and then came here supposed to enjoy myself. But when I found out about this organization and I learned more about their value and their mission, my heart felt for those students who are trying to be nurses And I know on my way, someone helped me. So my give back is to helping them and motivating them to be good, successful nursing.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Veronica. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate those of you that are here and that have to leave. That's fine. That's how city council works. You come and go as you want to. Yes, especially if you're talking out of turn. No, I'm just kidding. So, Adam, any changes to the agenda as we get started?
We do have a couple of changes. I would draw your attention to the addendum, and if possible, I think we'd like to hit that one first, along with kind of a fun announcement that's
Maybe both of them?
spoiled there. Yeah, both items. And then we have had one item that was requested to be removed at the, let's see, the applicant had requested that. Is that correct, John? And John, do you remember which item number? I'm looking for that one now. Item 8, that's correct. So item 8 has been requested at the applicants, or requested to be removed by the applicant. But other than that, everything stands as presented to council.
Got one other thing I got to do first, but thank you. I just wanted to make sure if there was anyone here to hear item 8, you don't need to stay because we will not be hearing that item. It's the one on about 1450 South River, Horseman Park and River Road. So if you're here for that item, it will not be heard. It's been pulled, and we'll hear it again in the future. So we do have one other thing. Battalion Chief Hooper. There he is. Would you come explain why you're here tonight and maybe why a few other people are here?
Yeah, good evening. It's a pleasure to be here tonight, and the reason we're here is to recognize acts of heroism in our community. And to give you a little background, what we had on Friday, April 5th at about 5 p.m., we received a 911 dispatch call at our St. George Communications Center. The call was for a drowning. CPR was in progress, and it was a child, which are the three worst things you can hear. Having received that call, emergency medical dispatcher David Allred, who took the call, had it assigned, which had it coded and knew what it was within 10 seconds. Emergency medical dispatcher Kristen Kelly had a unit attached, meaning en route, within 20 seconds of that call. That enabled our units to first arrive on scene in 4 minutes and 48 seconds from the time the 911 call was placed. Now, it's that 4 minutes and 48 seconds that brings us here tonight, and looking at Whitney and Logan, that was probably their longest 4 minutes and 48 seconds of their life. What they were able to do was find the child in the pool, identify that he was in cardiac arrest, quickly start CPR, and actually resuscitate him prior to EMS arriving on scene. When we arrived on scene shortly after, he was in the recovery position, so basically if someone's showing signs of life, you roll them on their left side. He was semi-responsive, he had good breathing, and he had good color, all in that amount of time. So basically, to summarize why we're here, if it wasn't for those two, Whitney and Logan, who knows what the disposition of this child would have been. And fortunately, he was discharged from the hospital 48 hours after the incident with no medical illness. So that being said, I think we'd like to give an award for heroic action at this time for these two individuals.
Let's do that. Whitney and Logan, why don't you come forward? These happen to be two of my neighbors, and that other guy sitting next to him also belongs to them. When I heard the sirens, because I was home at that time, and saw where they went, close by, the country club, and I thought, and then the ambulances left quite quickly, and I thought, well, that's either really good or really bad. But without your help, again, it could have been very different. And as I understand it, Logan, who's just a really good guy, but he's also, I remember when he was an Explorer Scout, because I worked with him, he spotted the child. And then Whitney, who is a nurse, Nurses Week, she did the resuscitation. So is that right, Whitney? And then I believe, Logan, did your daughter make the call?
8-year-old.
8-year-old.
She was the one out of 50 people that actually did listen to me and call.
Her dad and grandma were busy, so she got her dad's cell phone and called 911. So it's a family business here. Anyway, Michelle, would you make a comment, and then let's go down and give him this plaque.
So when Rob called me, he said, do we give hero awards in St. George? And I said, yeah, we do on occasion. And he told me about the incident. And Rob and I have known each other for a very long time. And Rob, these cases don't always end so well. And if you don't have somebody that knows what they're doing and can start proper CPR right away, then we've known way too many people who they don't get to take their child home in 48 hours. So I'm sure those parents are more than grateful that you were there at that time to save their child. And so the mayor and I it's an award to both of you, Whitney and Logan, in recognition of a life-saving action on April 5th, 2019.
Man, how are you? Big. Scooch in. Got it? One more. One more. Okay. Thank you, guys. Was that the boss? Yeah, okay. Anything you guys want to say? Logan?
He's the one that taught us. He teaches us the
Ah.
CPR.
You're the one
We appreciate it.
Over at Coral Desert? Is that awesome? Way to go. Thank you, everybody. Cool stuff. Battalion Chief Hooper, thank you for bringing it to Michelle, and Michelle, thanks for bringing it to us.
And a lot of you don't know that Battalion Chief Hooper has a side job. Probably makes him more money than he does in the fire department. But we got our budget and his picture's right here on the front.
That's worth something.
That is worth something. So check out his artwork because it's amazing.
Yeah.
His photos.
Okay, now Adam, you're going to take us to the addendum items 1 and 2. Should we do those both?
Yeah, let's do that. Hey, Mayor and Council, did you know that our airport's going to be closed for a little while? Anybody
Didn't hear that.
Heard it.
Anybody
Heard it.
familiar with that?
Yep.
Wouldn't it be really cool if when we reopened, we had something really new and exciting to share for our residents?
I think it would.
Yeah.
What could we do, Adam?
We're pretty excited about this, and it's spoiled. You know, everybody's already seen the agenda. But on our addendum, item number 1 is to approve an agreement with SkyWest, and this will open up new service to the Dallas-Fort Worth Airport. That's an American Airlines hub, their main hub. This is a huge market that we're able to tap into, and we are super excited about this. So in probably, I'm looking at David, maybe less than 2 weeks, we'll have a full press release, all of the details to be able to share with our residents. But that is the big news. When we reopen in September, we'll have new service. It'll be another major market that we tie directly to, and so we're really excited about that. This item number 1 on the addendum, this is an agreement similar to ones that we've done in the past. It is with SkyWest and with Washington County, and this allows us to help kickstart that air service through our Economic Development Fund. There's a total of $450,000. We split that 50-50 with the county, and as that flight gets going, this helps ensure the success of that. It continues to prove that market, and we're really excited about this. And so staff would recommend approval of this agreement.
As you remember, Council, we've done this a couple of other times now. It serves as a backstop. It's not, they don't just get the money. It's a backstop if they have losses. And we found this to work very well in starting the Phoenix flight as well as the LA flight. Previous to that, the Federal Transportation Association, I believe it's called, helped fund the Denver flight. But we've been having a hard time getting those kinds of grants anymore just because of our size. They say, well, you guys can do it. So we thought, well, yes, we can. It adds such a positive economic impact, and it has. We've watched as really, if we build it, they do come. And that's what's happened. We've watched the activity, as you know, in our airport double over the last few years. So it is an exciting thing. It also does help the LA flight just a little bit for, I believe it's January and February. Again, a pattern that we followed with Denver a few years ago that helped them in their weak months. It just helps buoy them up as they begin a new service or an adolescent service. In the case of LA, we still need to fly LA more, don't we? I've used it and it's awesome, it's on an improvement plan. It's doing well, but we'd like to see it do even better, right, Marissa? And so, anyway, Council, do you have any questions? And I'd love to have Sky West, anything you'd like to say, Marissa? Is there anything you'd like to say before we do this or after?
Either way, whatever you need from me.
Yeah, why don't you come up to the mic and introduce yourself with your name and title and serial number, all that, you know?
I'm Marissa Snow. I'm the Director of Communications for SkyWest. As the mayor mentioned, this is a huge hub for American at Dallas-Fort Worth. It would start the day the airport reopens, which is exciting.
How's that? How's that for jump starting as we reopen?
And it would provide the community access to over 900 daily departures to more than 220 destinations on American. So it just is 3 major carriers you have right here in St. George for 5 major hubs with the addition of Dallas. So it's pretty exciting for St. George. It's kind of groundbreaking, I would say.
Marissa, as I recall from one of your colleagues' statistics, he said that this airport through American offers 92 distinct additional flights or destinations that the other destinations don't. In other words, Salt Lake, Denver.
Unique destinations, yes.
Unique destinations.
Served only from Dallas.
Dallas.
Yeah.
So
I mean, and you give access to the world. You've got the Bahamas, you've got Panama, you've got Amsterdam, you've got Paris, all from one connection from St. George, which is amazing. So.
Very good.
So Mayor, it's going to close on the 29th of May, and then the big grand opening for this will be on September 27th or thereabout.
That's right. And the plan is, again, if this is approved and the county will be considering this, I believe, next Tuesday, then SkyWest would work busily now to get it ready and start up then. And again, I think that's a profound, it shows the profound confidence that SkyWest has in this market, and we appreciate the amazing partnership that we have with SkyWest and their partnering airlines, the carriers, as Marissa mentioned, you know, United, Delta, American, in terms of the ones that serve our market. And maybe another one down the road, Alaska, right? You never know. It's another partner of theirs. So maybe the Northwest or, you know, the Bay Area someday. But right now, we're talking Dallas-Fort Worth, which would be huge.
Yep.
Do you have
Thank
any
you.
questions for Marissa, Council, or Adam?
I think it's exciting, and I'll be happy to approve a transaction service agreement between the City of St. George, Washington County, and SkyWest Airlines for regularly scheduled flights from St. George to Dallas-Fort Worth in the amount of $450,000 split between the county.
We have a motion and a second. Motion by Michelle, second by Betty. Clarify?
We are splitting the 450 with the counties we've done in the past.
So it's
we-
225.
That's correct.
Just to clarify.
I put that in there, we're splitting with the county at the very
Yeah,
end.
she did.
I just want to make sure that splitting means 50-50.
50-50 with the county.
As the attorney, because attorneys will split at 50-50-50.
Of course.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? Let's see, is this it's a resolution? Starting with Betty, all in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. Marissa, thank you, and please tell everyone, Chip and Greg and everyone that's been involved, thank you. We're excited to see this happen. Yep.
Boy, this whole city council meeting so far, Mayor, there's nothing but a can-do attitude. This whole community is just alive and popping.
Well, that's how we built this community, right?
Right.
Okay. All right, Adam, should we do the second item on the addendum as well?
Let's go ahead with that. That's to consider a resolution to enter into an interlocal with the county for them to provide election services for us. We've had Sean and his staff review that agreement. We've gone back and forth. We feel comfortable with where the agreement stands, and we would recommend approval.
Council, do you have any questions? This is really their role, but it's important to have the agreement that spells it out. It was provided.
And let me add, Sean's reminded me, we still have one small change that we're still working on, so if we could just condition that subject to legal
Subject to
approval.
legal, okay. Do we have a motion?
Motion to, go ahead.
It was Betty, but.
Go ahead.
Motion to approve the resolution entering into an interlocal agreement with Washington County regarding election services, subject to the legal review and agreement.
Second.
Motion by Jimmy, second by Michelle. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor, starting with Ed, say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. Now let's go back to the regular agenda. I haven't received any forms for comments from the public, so we will proceed to the consent calendar, item 2.
Mayor and Council, we have 6 items tonight on the consent calendar. As always, these are administrative items that staff have reviewed for compliance with all of our regulations. They do comply. We would recommend approval of these items as presented to you. If you have any questions on any of these, we could remove them. Otherwise, we recommend approval.
Oh, I will be happy to approve this one. I've been waiting for number A for a while. And Cameron, can you tell me when that will actually take place?
As soon as we get the permission from Cindy to do that, we will work on it.
Okay, you'll have neighbors probably sending you a gift package.
Has that been a big deal?
No, not at all.
You haven't heard about that either, Tim.
No, he hasn't. Motion to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
I have a motion by Michelle and a second by Jimmy to approve the items on the consent calendar. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. That motion carries unanimously.
Just one quick question on A.
Yes, sir.
Is there plenty of room for people to park there? Because they're already starting to use that access. And I'd hate to see them getting too much out onto the highway there. Is there a place there they can park? I'm trying to remember.
They can pull off. There's shoulder room. They can pull off into the dirt, but where we're actually putting the parking, we're going to be, we'll have to do a little bit of paving across the trail so we don't tear up the trail. But we'll go up and blade it and put some road base in there. And as soon as that happens, they can pull across it, but we may have to do some repair on the trail if it does break it up. But we do need to do a little paving. But we'll put a fence around there so that they can't just go drive out everywhere.
Perfect.
That's what SIT was asked for.
Thank you.
Good question, Jimmy. Thanks, Cameron. All right, let's see. Item 3.
Mayor and Council, we're
This is
pleased
just a little thing, isn't it?
A little thing. We're pleased to present to you the preliminary budget for fiscal year 2020. And we're going to have our budget manager, Deanna Berklasich, make a presentation on this to the council.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's my pleasure to present the fiscal year 2020 budget to you. This year's budget, total combined recommended budget is $350.5 million. And the general fund budget is $77.1 million. The combined budget has increased by about 27%, and the general fund budget has increased by about 5.4%. We're pretty excited about a lot of the projects that we have. There's about $137 million in projects in this year's budget. And I think we hit all of the points that you had discussed during our strategy meetings and our budget retreat. And so I think you'll be pleased with what's in the budget. The budget's comprised of about $69.6 million for salary and benefit personnel, and then about 41% in materials and supplies, and that's about $143 million. We are not proposing a property tax increase. We do have some proposed increases in utility rates for the water because we are, that's a wholesale cost, and also in energy to pass along some costs that we are incurring there, and golf as well. And then we have about, we're recommending approval of 16 new employees, 5 within the general fund and 11 within the enterprise funds. Just to keep us.
Such as power or energy
Right,
services.
enterprise funds, sorry. That is power, water, wastewater treatment plant. Some of the big projects that are in the budget that we're pretty excited about, is continuation of the wastewater treatment plant expansion project. We've got the finishing of the airport runway repairs, and then the city office facility the police building, the city office building, dispatch center. That combined project is pretty sizable, and that's going to be a multi-year project. All of those will be overlapping years and so forth. I would be remiss if I did not say thank you to Chad Moultrie for all of his assistance, and to Christina and Adam and Trevor and all of the department heads for all their help and efforts, and everything that they've put forth, and checking emails from me late at night and responding late at night and so forth to questions that we have about the budget. I feel really good about the process, and really good about what is in this year's recommended budget for you. What we are recommending is to set the public hearings. June 6th and June 20th would be the final approval date of the budget, and then we will have the work meetings in May, and I believe that's May 23rd and May 30th for the work meetings to discuss the budget with the department heads. And all the public is invited to all of those meetings as well. So.
Yep, those are all public meetings, but the two in June, June 6th and the 20th, if we set those, would be public hearings.
Right, those would be public hearings.
And then we would adopt it on the 20th as well.
On the 20th.
Yep.
That's correct.
And do we need to, yes, that's part, when we make the motion, that would need to be part of the motion, council.
Right.
Do you have any questions? Obviously, we're going to sift through this. Some of you have asked for it hard copy, some digitally. It will be made available to each of us and to
Right.
the public as well.
Yes, we'll get that posted to the city's website tonight and to the eNet tonight.
Excellent.
Not sure if it's pretty big. I can try to send you each an email with it, and hopefully we won't crash the system because it's pretty big.
It is pretty big.
But any questions?
Yeah,
that you
any
have?
questions for Dee or?
I just want to thank Deanna for what a great explanation of it, because I've been getting calls from citizens that they foresaw that this was a approval time for parks in their community, and those things are coming, and they're all going to be reviewed and decided upon as the studies are completed. Yeah. But everyone's excited about that, and you really set the table here, so everybody will know exactly what to expect.
Thank you.
This is a Herculean effort, and so, we know just enough to know that, Deanna, but just want to give you a round of applause for your work on this.
Thank you.
How many years have you been doing this, Dee?
Oh, I think
2 or
about
3?
15.
Yeah.
Yeah.
15 years. Council, if there are no questions, I would entertain a motion to approve the resolution accepting and adopting the preliminary fiscal year 2019-2020 budget of the City of St. George, and setting the dates for the required public hearings, June 6th and June 20th.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion was made in stereo, but we'll give it to Michelle, and the second by Betty. Any discussion on the motion? And I know you did too, Joe, but any discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, starting with Betty, say aye.
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 Oh, good. That's unanimous, and it's approved. And again, this is the preliminary budget.
Right.
It doesn't mean there won't be changes. In fact, I think there will be a few changes. But this is, I think, It represents, in my opinion, our best yet in terms of the effort to involve everyone we could, you know, from the council and staff, starting in December. So thank you, Adam, for your leadership and direction, and Dee and Chad and department heads and everyone else that's made this happen, and council.
And you know, Mayor, I just have to mention this. Sometimes the city council meetings go to 8, 9 o'clock at night, and they're still going. And as I'm leaving, I go by Deanna's desk, and the door's open, and she's in there working way above and beyond.
Yep.
So.
Well, we were probably all asleep
Special.
when she was here last night, so, yeah.
I hope so. All right.
Thank you. Take some, you know, take a day or two off, Dee, you know. No, she's doing Ironman or something. No.
She is awesome, and thanks to those of us who accepted an electronic copy versus a paper copy, and the fact that I got a bicycle now, the life of the planet's now been extended to 14 years instead of 12, as currently projected.
Good job. Good job, Jimmy.
You're welcome.
That's why he's a few minutes late. He rode his bike
Yeah.
here tonight. All right, let's go to number 4 before we fall into disarray. May, by the way, the May dates, they're the 23rd and 30th. Those will be work meetings, and that's when we'll go through the nitty-gritty. And then, council, that's really, you remember, the way the format now, it's really, those are your meetings to ask questions, and it's not really, there's not presentations. We've done that by the department heads. They'll be there to answer questions, okay? Okay. Number 4. Our annual action plan.
Yes, sir. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to, glad to be back with you. This evening we're presenting the 5-year consolidated plan and the 2019 annual action plan. This is a requirement from HUD as part of stipulation or the regulations for the community development block grant funds, which the city receives each year. So I have a brief presentation about the consolidated plan efforts, the findings from the study, and then the annual action plan budget as recommended by staff. So the consolidated plan is similar to a comprehensive plan. It's a 5-year study. We do some analysis on the housing market, the economic indicators, the population of the city, and come up with ultimately priority needs and goals for the 5-year covered under this plan. Those priority needs and goals developed here in the consolidated plan guide our funding recommendations and priorities for the next 5 years. The con plan contains 5 sections. The needs assessment, which is a review of the citizens or the population of St. George. So we have a lot of age demographics, race and ethnicity, educational attainment, etc. Housing market analysis, and then with that data, we develop the strategic plan, again, the priority needs and goals. And then the annual action plan, again, we'll do that each of the next 5 years, which specifically guides how we will implement the program this particular year. And of course, as part of tonight, we have citizen participation. Through the consolidated plan efforts over the last several months, we've done a number of surveys and outreach. We hosted a workshop here with your service providers, your nonprofit agencies that typically apply for funding. HUD has announced the annual allocation, as you see on the right of the screen. This year, the city, a slight increase from last year, well, just over $608,000. The city receives about $60,000, we estimate, each year in program income, which is from when the city used to do a down payment assistance program. So every year we get a few of those repayments and have a little additional money on top of the annual allocation. So as I mentioned, the citizen participation plan, or efforts, we had a community survey which was well responded. I'm going to show those results momentarily. We did a stakeholder survey. Again, those were with your nonprofit service providers. We're currently in a 30-day public comment period, and again, obviously tonight is a public hearing where we're welcome feedback from the community. The community survey got 249 responses, sort of endorsing what the city has done with the CDBG funds over the last few years, which is nice. Continue to utilize the funds for building improvements, streets, sidewalks, drainage, removing slum and blight, dilapidated buildings, improving and expanding capacity of water and sewer, and of course providing safe and decent affordable housing, which are the items that you have funded over the last 5 years, so that's a nice endorsement. Stakeholder survey was less responsive, but still supporting, again, safe, decent, affordable housing and programs for special needs, which again, through the public service grants that you have been awarding the last several years, most of those agencies provide resources and programs, special needs population, battered and abused women and children, elderly, disabled, and of course at Switch Point, the homeless and low income with the meals and soup kitchen. Some quick information here on demographics. As you've done your comprehensive plan and as you're growing, you guys know this stuff better than we do, but you can see since 2000 as our baseline, over that time the city's population has grown tremendously. Last time I was here, I think there was a publication in the paper that St. George Metro was the fastest growing metro in the country.
We slipped, we're down to third.
Yeah, and well, and I'm from South Carolina, and Myrtle Beach was at number 2 behind you guys. Side note, I'm really happy about that flight from Dallas. Now I can get here on 2 flights instead of 3, so thank you for that. Median income is growing naturally over the last 2 decades, but all of these trends are higher than national average, higher than Utah average. The income growth is tremendous. That being said, as you'll see in the next couple of slides, housing costs are also increasing dramatically, and incomes, while they are increasing dramatically, are not yet keeping up. And so you can see cost burden for owners, it's great. Cost burden again means households paying more than 30% of their income towards their housing costs. So for owners, the number is getting a little better. Unfortunately for renters, we've gotten to over half of your renters are cost burden, so continuing to be a problem. I'll, however, commend, I know you have a groundbreaking tomorrow at Riverwalk, which is going to provide affordable rental housing, so you're doing what we can to address that, which, again, supportive to the way you're allocating these funds. Quick review of homeless population and public housing, and again, I know the city provides a lot of support for Switch Point and the programs that they offer out there for homeless services, so we've got a quick summary here of the homeless, sheltered, and unsheltered. Housing market analysis, as you might already know, home values have increased tremendously. Again, rents are going up tremendously as well, which is providing or increasing the number of cost burden renters. Through all of your zoning and approval of neighborhoods coming up, I'm sure you also recognize that your housing stock is single family traditional, 1 unit detached type housing. And the bulk of those are 2 or 3 units or even larger. Economic indicators, of course, your unemployment rate is on the way down and is great in St. George. You guys know this as well. Poverty rate, however, is still 15.5, which is a little bit high. Again, those extremely low income, homeless, and again, that's probably a lot of your renter population that are cost burden. So out of all of these efforts, we came up with primarily 2 priority needs: quality of life improvements, which are your public facilities and infrastructure to improve, and then public services for special needs populations. From there, we develop more specific goals that we address each year. Again, expand public services to low income, expand public services to those special needs populations, always promoting fair housing through HUD programming, increase and improve access to public facilities and to public infrastructure. Here's the staff recommended budget for this year's action plan. Roughly 20% of the funding for administration, $133,000. The bulk of the funds, as usual, go into public facilities and infrastructure, just over $434,000, and public services at $100,000. Staff is currently reviewing applications from your outside agencies. We received 8 applications last month. Based on preliminary review, 4 of those are asking for assistance to improve their facility or to expand their facility, and 4 of those are asking for assistance with operations so they can continue their programs or expand their programs. Staff believes that all agencies will be able to be funded at the requested level, and of course we'll bring that to you when their review is complete. So again, we're currently in the 30-day comment period. Will end at the end of the month once we have compiled any comments and receive your endorsement. We will be submitting to HUD. HUD approves the plan, and then the funds are usually available come July 1st. This time, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Those comments go through Jenna, right? I saw that in the
Yes, sir.
slide and in the summary you gave us. Questions, council?
So once you've established the amounts that you've shared with us, and in your analysis will include certain findings, whether any racial or disproportionate parts of the community affected, you would share that information with Gene?
Yes, sir.
And
The
then-
plan is about 200 pages long,
Right.
with a lot more analysis than what obviously I've presented the high notes here. It's available in the lobby, and actually it's on the city's website now as well.
And
Yes, sir.
that's great. The public,
sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Obviously, these are things that we're required to do
Yes, sir.
to participate in this program, and it has provided significant benefit to our community over the past. So appreciate you helping us with it.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
All right, then we are required to have a public hearing, I believe, for this, according to the agenda, correct?
Yes, sir.
So if there are no questions, then I will open the public hearing at this time for anyone who may have come to make comments on this item number 4 regarding the annual action plan and the 2019 through 2023 consolidated plan and an amended citizen participation plan, so all three.
I want to ask one more question.
Okay, how about we wait till we get through the public hearing? Okay, since there are no comments, I'll close the public hearing, and now, ask away, Ed.
Your report indicates the 2017 population of 79,995, and currently our population is far above that. How
Yes,
do
sir.
you...
So what we're required to use is census information, the ACS abbreviations, American Community Survey. They lag basically a year behind. So when we started this plan in the winter in December, the American Community Survey in December of 2018 released all the data points for 2017. So yes, we know the population number is higher, but all those other data indicators are not available for any year more recent than 17. So to be consistent, we use 2017 numbers throughout.
Right, thank you.
Mayor, I would like to move to approve the 2019-2020 Annual Action Plan, the 2019-2023 Consolidated Plan, and an amended Citizen Participation Plan.
Thank you. We have a motion by Betty and a second by Joe. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, starting with Ed this time, say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good evening.
Appreciate all the
Thank
work.
you.
Okay, number 5. I'll be faster than that.
Okay, item 5 is a request to consider vacating a portion of an existing power line easement that is not in use and is located approximately at 1400 west and 4700 north in the Ledges development. So here, there's an existing power line easement, extends through here and down through here. The line was never, or the easement really was never used in this portion right here. And so they're coming in, the applicant is requesting, you can see that they've already developed over the easement so as not to encumber those lots. They're requesting to vacate just the dark portion right here for right now.
Questions on this easement vacation, council? We do need to do a public hearing after if you have any if you don't have any questions. Okay, then I'll open the public hearing for any who would have input on this item, number 5. Didn't think so. I'll close the public hearing and come back to you, council, for any further discussion or a motion.
Motion to approve an ordinance vacating a portion of an existing power line easement that is not in use and is identified on doc number 330728 with the county recorder.
Second.
Motion by Michelle and a second by Betty. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, starting with Jimmy, say aye.
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 See, how about, just have to, mix it up. Motion carries unanimously. Let's go on to number 6, Wes.
Okay, item 6 is a request to vacate a deceleration lane along 3000 East, location when dedicated was in error and dedicated too far to the west. This is located at approximately 3380 south on the west side of 3000 East. So you can see right here, this line right here represents the right-of-way line for 3000 East. You can see that they've dedicated this decel lane into the property. There was just a misunderstanding with the surveyor. All along here are those double frontage lots along 3000 East, and so they've all dedicated an additional 10 feet for the trail and also for the landscape strip. The surveyor was under the understanding that this too would have to be dedicated to the city to own and maintain the landscape strip and privacy wall. With it being commercial,
We don't do that.
No, we don't, and so we caught it. So yeah, we realized that, oh no, this was in the wrong place. This is actually going to stay with the developer, and they'd be responsible for maintaining the landscaping that they're required to do per ordinance for their commercial development. So they're just requesting to vacate that which they dedicated, and then a condition would be with that, prior to the vacation, that they dedicate the new deceleration lane here and also an easement for that trail that extends through here, and then we would vacate that.
Questions, council? So again, we don't, because it's commercial, we wouldn't maintain the landscaping.
Right.
And that's why this is essentially to clean it up,
Yeah.
because we want them to maintain it. That's a requirement. If it was residential, then that could be different.
Yep.
So that's why we're doing this.
So it's
Any
nice-
questions?
Nice to save the taxpayers some money.
You bet. That ongoing stuff is what is difficult, isn't it? So we're required to open a public hearing, which I'll do now for anyone who might have come to offer input on this item number 6 on our agenda. And seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and come back to you, council, for your action.
Mayor, I move to approve an ordinance vacating a deceleration lane along 3000 East Street, located on the west side of 3000 East Street at approximately 3380 south.
Second.
Have a motion by Betty and a semi-reluctant, no, just kidding, second by Jimmy. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, starting with Ed, say aye.
Aye.
Just to clarify this, I'm sorry, I just noticed this. Is that really on the east side of 3000 East or on the west side?
No, it's on, does it say on the east side?
Yeah.
No, it's on the west side of
It says
3000
west.
East.
It says west. Amend to the west side.
I got it.
Okay.
Aye.
Aye, very good.
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you. Always better to ask. Thanks, Joe.
Okay, item 7 is a request to consider an amended final subdivision plat and utility line, public utility easement vacation that is located at 3744 South Highbury Cove by adjusting the lot line. So basically, the existing lot line is right here right now. They've worked out a deal where they'll change the lot line here, and this area here will become part of this property and not part of this property. So your new lot line will come down here, and they'll take that public utility easement and just dedicate it right there. So it's just a switch right there.
Just making the one a little bigger and the other a little smaller.
Right. Yep.
And we're adjusting the easement. Any questions on this before I open the public hearing, council? All right, then I will open the public hearing for any who've come to express input and give input on this, item number 7. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and come back to you, council, for your action.
Mayor, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the amended subdivision plat for the lots 2 and 3 of Highbury Park by adjusting the lot lines and vacating the public utilities and drainage easements.
We have a motion by Jimmy and a second by Joe. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, starting with Michelle, say aye.
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 Aye. I just confused everything. Thank you. Motion carries unanimously.
Well, it might have been me that
It's
confused you.
okay. All right, Ray, number
Number 9.
9.
Number 9, consider approval of an ordinance changing the zones from planned development residential to planned development commercial, and to approve construction of a 2-story building and the use for Matt's Place, located on approximately .82 acres at 126 West, 200 North. So on the screen is shown outlined here in this bluish color, the property. Here's 200 North Street, just to the south
It's where
of it.
Porter's used to be. right?
Exactly. And as you know, Porter's has now been torn down. That's a vacant lot right there. But Seasons is next door to it right here.
Right.
And in a close-up view of that. And I'm going to skip this. The general plan hadn't been updated at the time this was done, but the council did approve the general plan change, which is reflected here to PO, Professional Office. So the request tonight is to change this area from planned development residential to planned development commercial. And I'm going to look at the staff report real quick. It's a zone change request, and also you'll be looking at the conceptual site plan, which is on the screen here. And you'll be looking at building elevations, talking about the use of the property, and a conceptual colors and materials. So this shows a new 2-story building that's proposed here, and the gray area shows all of the new parking, and the green encompasses conceptual landscaping. The landscaping also has a living garden area back here, so the point is they've appear to meet and exceed the requirements. The height will be approximately 25 feet 8 inches, and as you know, it's measured to the midpoint of the roof, which I'm showing right here. The project was seen by Planning Commission, and these are the elevations that were seen at Planning Commission. I'll try to talk about this furthermore and fill in some gaps. But this is now obsolete, and that was showing all 4 sides. Tonight before the City Council is revised elevations, and it encompasses basically more architectural features to make it look more like home, more to fit into some of the surrounding area that has historic homes and has some of the features, the cover, the railings, treatment around the windows. And I'll go quickly through this, but basically I have all 4 elevations if you need to bring them back. And this was the rendering that was seen by Planning Commission. And then here tonight is the revised exterior, so you can kind of get a flavor for it. It's designed to look like a large home to fit into the area. A lot of architectural treatment here where it has varied faces on it and a lot of accents. On the table in front of me is the materials board that was seen by Planning Commission, and then there's a small material sample that has come in Planning Commission didn't see related to the revised elevations, and it shows what looks like to be a lot of brickwork. So I'm going to jump back to the staff report. Again, this is a plan development from PDR to PDC request, the site plan, the layout, the landscaping, the elevations, the use, and the colors and materials. I'll let the applicant address it more, but I'll kind of touch on a little bit. And my understanding is Matt's Place assists families and individuals from approximately age 5 to 18 years old to work through challenging behavior disorders in outpatient medication management, outpatient therapy, partial hospitalization, intensive outpatient program, therapeutic after-school programs, group therapies, and the immediate goal of treatment is to manage behaviors. That's on page 1, and page 3 of the staff report, under uses, under proposal number 2, the Planning Commission recommends approval of a facility where parents who have autistic children and adolescents can come and be dropped off at this facility for half a day or all-day care. Nothing would be overnight. The use includes some support services from licensed counselors and nurse practitioners. And that would include medication management, day treatment, neuropsychology, psychological testing, applied behavior analysis. So that's all before you there on page 3. I'm sorry if I'm jumping around. I'm looking at page 1, which I've covered pretty much. On page 2, what I'd like to highlight is in the middle of the page is the design of the building that changes. Since the Planning Commission meeting, the applicant elected on his own to make several changes in the building's exterior elevations. And there's 4 items there. Basically, number 1, they introduced brick veneer, and that's the color and materials board that's on a screen and also on a table in front. And number 2, they introduced decorative railing elements on the second level, and they're really just aesthetically to be pleasing. The nature of the facility that's proposed, nobody would be going out onto the decks on the roof, the applicant has told me. Number 3, gable and railing decorative elements were added to the main entry on the west elevation. And 4, the windows were detailed with a combination of stucco trim, brick sills, brick soldier crossing, and stone trim. So I kind of elaborated on that just to let you know there were changes since Planning Commission. In terms of landscaping, it appears to meet and exceed the requirements. It meets parking. The height is 25 feet 8. Appears to meet all of the setback requirements, which staff will look at. And I'm on top of page 3, design. Again, the Planning Commission spent considerable time discussing the building design and if it would complement the historic district. However, ultimately, the Planning Commission recommended the applicants consider their comments and recommended they meet with an architect to see if any features could be added to further enhance the Pioneer theme, and that is what they have done. They are trying to create a home environment. So, in conclusion, I'm on the bottom of page 3. The Planning Commission does recommend approval. It wasn't a unanimous, it was 4-1, of the zone change and the conceptual layout and the landscaping and the use. Number 1 is under their comments and conditions, they recommend approval to the City Council, the plan of the zone change. There's a listing here of the uses on number 2. 3, they recommend approval of the site plan. At the time, they recommended colors and materials, but it's different what the council's seeing here, and I'll let the applicant kind of elaborate on that. They recommend number 5, the setbacks, number 6, the landscaping, number 7, that they submit evidence that they'll have dark sky style lighting, 8, that they'll do a civil engineering plan review, site plan review, 9, that they'll put trees to city standards in, 10, they want to specify there will be no overnight stay at this facility, 11 is typical hours of operation, approximately 8 to 8, 12 talks about the different license providers that are proposed to be here. 13 is the design, and it's requested that the applicant consider the Planning Commission comments. Well, that did happen. And then finally, number 14, they wanted to note that it's not a substance abuse facility. They were trying to narrow down what the uses are. On page 7 and 8, I'm not going to read those. Those are taken directly from their website because they have other facilities in Utah, and the applicant can explain that. And then I just put in on the last page 9 examples of the type of licensing that they're wanting to do. So I hope that was informative, and that concludes staff's comments. I'll try to answer questions, and then also the applicant, James Dean, and his wife are here.
First of all, council, do you have any questions for Ray?
Ray, can help my memory a little bit, will you? That dissension, that 4-1 that abstained, was that more architecture? Wasn't the to do with the operation hours or the parking or anything like that?
In your package,
It was due to the way the building looked from the letter.
That was just that one.
You got a letter?
Yes, in your packet is a letter from one of the planning commissioners that states the 2 categories of what the concern and opposition was. Yeah.
Has that planning commissioner seen Porter's nursing home before it was tore down?
I can't answer that, I don't know. But I've seen it personally, and I know the condition it was in, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I recall they discussed the aesthetics and the looks, but I thought there was also some discussion on the hours and the number of it.
He did, in his letter, he talked a little bit about the service and, you know, that he didn't feel like it fit, but I disagree. I think it's a perfect fit for the area, actually.
And again, I'm kind of saying the same thing again. There have been some significant changes.
So the applicant has made design
Yes.
changes since
Yes.
Planning Commission?
So this is a private facility?
Yeah.
Yes. And it is something, Council, that just a little bit with my other hat, I don't know these people at all, but I know that they would be offering some services that we don't currently offer here. So it's actually a greatly needed resource in our community. And, you know, I think really the type of thing, and remember, it's not overnight. This isn't a, you know, it's not a hospital setting. It's not an overnight setting. And, you know, where it's adjacent to other, frankly, pretty similar kinds of things. There's a doctor's office not far, like across the street, down a little bit, and a rather extensive one.
And the senior
and the senior center, and of course right adjacent to Seasons. So
which is overnight.
Which is overnight. So, you know, I think it's, and I look at the materials and the ones that were added. I think they look pretty good. So I appreciate the applicant's effort to listen to not just the one planning commissioner. I think there were some others that expressed that too. So anyway. But any other comments? And I'd love to hear from the applicant. Okay. And if you just state your names for the record.
Yes, my name is Jim Dean. My wife is Shirlene Dean. Anyway, we are also the owners of Seasons. I bought Porter's and bought some surrounding property, demolished the homes and built Seasons with the intent of actually doing an assisted living on this space. But since that time, we opened a 501c3 nonprofit organization called Matt's Place, and we feel that that Washington County is in dire need of these services. We've had a number of communities contact us to bring our services, but because we own the ground down here and our investment here in St. George, we felt that it would be a good fit because right now children with autism and other mental illness have to go up to Provo to get services or to Vegas. So we felt that there's a great need for that. So after the Planning Commission meeting, there seemed to be some concern about the exterior look of the building. They didn't feel it was conforming enough, even though it was the same architect that did Seasons. And we felt that we met the requirements that were given to us by the planning department. We took it back and made some enhancements to the building by adding brick and some additional facade features to make it more fit in with the neighborhood, so to speak.
Council, do you have any questions?
So have you done this elsewhere? This type
yes,
of
it's currently going right now in Centerville, Utah. We've been operating for 4 years. We've helped probably about 1,000 families. And we are a medical facility. We're regulated by the state health department. We get our license there. We have a triple board certified psychiatrist. We have APRNs, we have PhDs, we have LCSWs. We're a medical facility that deals with, and we have outpatient services. A large portion of our services are outpatient services where people come for therapy for an hour, med management, and those types of services as well. So,
is there a backstory to Matt's Place?
My son is high-functioning autistic. His name is Matthew. And
awesome.
We asked him before we named it Matt's Place if it would be okay to do that. my wife's background. And she can speak for herself, but she's a pediatric psychiatric nurse practitioner and has worked at the University of Utah, is on faculty there, and was involved in their home program. So anyway.
You have some expertise.
I'm sorry?
You have some expertise.
We do
both of
have
you.
a little bit of expertise in this regard. So, but we have a great staff, and there's right now 1 in 59 are diagnosed on the autism spectrum disorder in children, and there's currently right now over 3 million adults with autism that are 21 and over. So, but
more than autism.
But we do more than autism, and if you have any particular questions, she runs the clinic and could address the clinical aspects of her.
I agree. This is needed. My oldest grandson also is high functioning autistic, and to find resources has been extremely difficult here. And I think the building is beautiful. I'm glad you bought Porter's and tore it down. It wasn't so lovely, Sean. He hates when I say things like that.
I see. Well, it needed to be.
He's the attorney, you know.
It served its purpose for a while.
There you
It
go.
did. It did serve its purpose.
It was the very first nursing home in St. George.
Yes, yes. And people,
Yeah.
Built in
people did love it, by the way.
1847.
Right.
Built a long time ago.
However,
We saved the plaque.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
We have it mounted at the site.
on the
so
side,
people
we
can
saved
love
the
that place.
cornerstone plaque. We also have the oldest, from what we've been told, the oldest palm tree in the city as well.
Good for you.
We saved that too. So,
Excellent.
So you live both places, Centerville and here in St. George?
well, we have a home in St. George and we have a home in Salt Lake, actually.
Good.
Any other questions, council? I think it's a great opportunity.
Mayor, I do have one.
Yes, sir.
Have Mr. and Mrs. Dean, have you had a chance to read the proposed ordinance that was put in the council's packet?
Can I review it?
With the stipulations that are in there? I just want to make sure.
I don't know that we saw that in there.
And maybe I should just read it. Yeah. Yes, I will do that for you.
There's never been an attorney that summarized anything.
Well,
Almost makes it longer. No.
With that, I'll it states here, the city zoning map is hereby ordered to be changed to reflect the zone change from PDR to PDC on approximately 0.82 acres and to approve the conceptual layout, building design, and the landscaping. The zone change area is more specifically described on the attached property legal description, which is just a legal description of your property, and is included as Exhibit A. The project must comply with all conditions, requirements, and restrictions as approved by City Council, including, but not limited to, its use as a child autism daycare center only. The center
Can
shall
I
be
interrupt?
supervised.
Stop.
Can I?
Okay,
Yeah.
maybe
go
I
ahead
should
and
read it
finish,
first,
then
and
we'll-
then we can
yeah.
discuss it, so you can hear all, because we might have some other questions too. The center shall be supervised by a medical physician licensed in the state of Utah and staffed with clinical providers also licensed in the state of Utah. On-site staff shall include a psychiatric nurse practitioner and a behavioral therapist, clients who obtain services at the Autism Day Center shall be referred by a treated medical physician licensed in the state of Utah, and the center shall maintain referral records. So I thought you would have some input on this, and I wanted to make sure that you heard this. And now,
Could I use
yes,
that to
absolutely,
wrap?
you'll need to refer to that. I do not expect you to remember everything on there.
Well, that's why I wanted to hit them as they came up. Okay, first of all, let's talk about this daycare. I don't know how this term daycare even came into the discussion, because we are anything but a daycare. We are a medical facility that where the day treatment is often a step down from hospitalization, or it is a place for kids to go to keep them out of the hospital. In fact, that's our goal, is to keep kids from being hospitalized.
I don't even know how the term daycare is being defined in this, in your term, but we are not a daycare. I'm sure, in fact, my staff kind of chuckled when I told them that, because that's not what we are. This concept of dropping off your kid and picking them up is misleading. There is individual therapy, family therapy, occupational therapy, behavioral therapy, which might be misconstrued with ABA. Behavioral therapy is a very broad term here. And so I think we need to be careful. And also I think it's important for the committee here to know, the council to know, that it is incredibly difficult to get providers in St. George. And it's going to take me some time, and it's going to take me some work, and it's going to take me some money to even get providers down here. So these services are not going to be all offered right at the beginning. It's going to take me a lot of recruiting efforts to build this staff up. So I just wanted to clarify that behavioral services, and it's not just autism. Children that aren't autistic need behavioral training, behavioral management. Parents need a lot of support. So let's not confuse that the behavioral stuff will only be happening with autistic kids. That happens with all kids.
All
And
right,
yes, you
so-
can interrupt.
You're very, very good. I wanted to make sure that we all understood what was in there, because I did not want it to misrepresent what you're intending to do. Now, from your website, it sounds like you also, so I may be restating some of this, partial hospitalization.
Which is what
intensive-
insurance companies call day treatment, just
Sure,
to clarify.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Day treatment is what you do say on your website too, in parentheses, so I should have
Yeah.
said that. Intensive outpatient program, after-school IOP, outpatient therapy services, diagnostic evaluations, outpatient occupational therapy. See, all of those I think would probably be better stated in those conditions, because those are the services that you're providing, and it better describes what you want to do. So would you agree?
Well, I would agree, but I would hate to be limited to that, because we might not have them all at the same time. There's also group therapies. We might find something that we want to bring in down the road that helps these families.
So I will tell you that you're not obligated to provide all of these right now, but the way our PD zones work is you have to identify up front what you're going to do, and that list might include things that you're not doing right now. And then in the future, if you want to add something, you can come back to the council and say, we have this new program that we want to offer, and it's not listed in here. Although these are pretty broad, I think you can work.
I think we could too, and I think we did that at the last meeting. We went through, I think I'd have to look at those notes, but we talked about recreational therapy is there, occupational therapy. There's a variety of groups that are directed to families and children and adolescents. That's pretty broad as well. So is that list that you just read from, that was off our website, but I'm wondering, is that in the document?
No, that's what that's why I'm bringing it up, because I think the document would probably work better for you if we listed these
exactly.
These things that you have on your website, and maybe add the recreational therapy on there as well, knowing that you don't have to provide all those. You're not obligated to, but you're
You
approved.
can provide them.
Right. And frankly, recreational therapy would very easily fall into any of those other topics that were just named. Yeah.
So Sean, or do you have enough information to where if the council were to approve this subject to adding those things, that we could make it subject to legal?
Yes, this is your, obviously bailiwick and not mine, but I also would suggest striking the last sentence that says that they have to be referred by a physician, a treating physician, because I don't think that that necessarily will be the case in all of these, and I think that opens it up for more people to be able to use it. So
Yeah, where is that sentence?
it should be in number 2 on the very last.
Right here.
Okay.
So, and I apologize because, you know, I attended some of the planning commission meeting you were at, but I had to leave. I was just sitting in the audience. And so when I reviewed this tonight, I did not think it probably fit some of the things you wanted to do. And I want to make sure that you're able to do all of these things. So I do quite like the way you have it laid out on your website here. And so I could read those uses to you, council, and ask that we strike that last sentence as well, requiring the referral. And I think it works, knowing that, Deans, you can come back if you want to add something to it, and we can
Amend the PD zone, if you will, the uses within it.
And I'm sorry to take up so much time, but I want to make sure we get it right for you and for the council.
Does that sound acceptable?
Yes, I do think we strike that last sentence. I do feel like I need more time to review this since we just got it, so I'd hate to agree to it without giving it a good eye over. If we could take a little time back to do this, and then I don't know if we just need to talk with you, Mr. Guzman, or what?
Council, however you would like to do it, there might be a few technical issues in there
Yeah,
that
but it's things like
if you
strike.
feel free
I
to
just
let
feel like
us,
I need to understand this.
as staff, work on that, we can do that, and I'd be glad to work with the deans on that.
But could it be a conditional approval tonight based on completing this document with Mr. Guzman?
Yes, we can do that.
Okay. So we don't have to come back for...
No.
I would like to list those uses, though.
Why don't you just tell us what the uses are? Make sure we know what we're approving, and let's go from
That
there.
would be partial hospitalization, day treatment, intensive outpatient program, after-school IOP, outpatient therapy service, diagnostic evaluations, outpatient occupational therapy, and recreational therapy.
You could add speech and language into that.
Therapy?
Yes. Well, speech and language treatment, I guess, evaluations and treatment, just speech and language services. How about we
Okay.
use the term services?
Can't you put a catch-all in there, Sean, some attorney speak?
Well, I think these right here are broad enough that a lot of these, for example, like she stated, the recreational therapy probably would fit under one of these. The speech and language also would fall into one of these as well, but we can list those two, and I think we'll be good.
I think so too. I think any group therapies that we'd have would easily be covered under that. I can't think of anything else that...
From what I
Yeah,
recall from
yeah.
the planning commission meeting, I think that listing these things here would give you that scope that you need in order to provide those services as you can provide them.
And then strike that they don't have to be referred by a physician.
Right.
I think it's also important to note in section 2 where it says the center shall be supervised by a medical physician. That's a state law. It's part of our licensing agreement, so it's redundant, but it's in there. But that just goes without saying. And staffed with clinical providers, also licensed. Okay. On-site shall include, I think we should say may include a psychiatric nurse practitioner and a behavioral therapist. I think you could just get rid of and a behavioral therapist because we have so many staff. It sounds like that's the only one that would be there. We have social workers and psychologists and occupational therapists. So I think that's...
Or you could, there is the list of all of those.
all of the staff.
All
that-
of the staffing was earlier in the staff report.
Right, and
You read that.
And I believe that's where the attorney that drafted this.
But they didn't list them all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
got that.
because I
So
might
we
just
could do
have
that.
only physicians. I may not have
think
a
we
nurse
could put
practitioner
some-
there.
Some language in there that'll cover it, council, but I think really the most important thing
Is the list.
Are the list of uses.
Are we comfortable with those?
Yeah.
That's the most important.
That's part of the motion, if we can refer to those that have been read.
I think if it's okay, I'd be willing to make a motion to that intent with the instruction, Sean, if it's okay, that you have the leeway to work through this, with the intent being that we give them as much leeway to get that list so they can perform those things that they're licensed to do, which I think is needed, and I think is admirable, and I think...
Yeah.
So if that's okay?
Yes.
Okay, so let me give this
I
a shot
guess
unless there's something else.
The only other thing it says clients who obtain services at the Autism Day Center. We're not really an Autism Day
And I
Center.
think
Maybe just say
We can clean
services
that up.
at the
That's
clinic.
some of the language that I wanted.
Yeah.
Because
We
we
can clean
deal
that
with
up,
a lot
yes.
of different
I think the
mental health
uses,
issues.
again, are the most important elements to list for a PD commercial that we're doing here, so.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
So I'm gonna try this, see how this works. So I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion to approve the ordinance changing the zone from planned development residential to planned development commercial, PDC, and to approve the construction of the building, approving the conceptual site plan, the landscaping plan, the updated building elevations, and the proposed uses as will be worked out with legal
And as presented
and as presented
tonight.
with the intent being to allow them as much leeway to perform those duties that they're duly licensed to do at this facility.
Second.
Motion by Jimmy and a
All right.
second by Joe.
So the clarification is, we are approving, that list is the comprehensive list of the uses. So what I will be addressing in there is the language on the staffing and some of the terminology used to refer to the center. That's the only thing that I'll be working on, but the uses won't change from what those were set tonight.
With the addition of the therapy.
The recreational therapy
No.
and the speech and language services.
Right.
And the deleting of having to be referred.
Right.
Right, that'll be the language
Yeah.
part that we're doing. We're just talking about uses right now, and so that's.
Yeah.
Good.
Sounds
Any
good.
other comments on the motion? All right. All in favor then, let's see.
Ordinance.
This is ordinance, so all in favor, starting with Ed, say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously.
Yeah, Mayor, I just might thank the Planning Commission. They went through a lot of this information, and they really worked with the applicants, and they did a good job.
And then agree or not agree, in all fairness, we're asking them to do, to review the site plan and all that stuff, so obviously there's people that have strong opinions, and that's okay.
I'm going to throw something in because I do participate in the Planning Commission. I think we've asked you a heck of a lot to make this happen, and I appreciate your willingness to do that.
Thank you for acknowledging that, and we are excited to bring these services here.
Good. It'll be wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, number 10. Sean's going to catch you, I think. Are you going to catch him? Yeah.
I'm a little slow, I apologize.
You're good.
Item number 10. This is to consider approval of an ordinance changing the zone for Tonnequint Cove, Phase 2, from MG Mining and Grazing to R110, single-family residential, minimum lot size 10,000 square feet, on approximately 33.26 acres, and this is located south of Curly Hollow Drive and Rock Park Drive. We just recently had an approval of some zone changes over in this direction called Tonnequint Ridge. The applicant has decided to move down a little bit closer to the existing development. This is the location here with Curly Hollow and the intermediate school right there. The general plan is LDR. Here's the mining and grazing zone that they would like to make it R110, just like this, which is Tonnequint Cove Phase 1. This was supplied by the applicant. This is how it will fit in with the existing development. And this shows how this fits in with the open space that's currently, that's currently zoned. They will be taking up some of that space and kind of flip-flopping some of the open space for residential and then putting some of that residential space back to open space. At this, the applicant does want to obviously put in single-family homes. They will come back with a plat later at a later point. But for right now, they're just trying to get the zone change approved. This was presented at the Planning Commission. They did recommend approval as is, and staff does recommend approval as well.
Questions, council?
They might even be interested in a park out there somewhere, huh?
Yes. Yes.
Motion to approve the zone change for Tonnequint Cove Phase 2 from mining and grazing to R110.
Second.
Motion by Michelle, second by Jimmy. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, starting with Betty, say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Ray?
Next item is item number 11. Consider approval of an ordinance changing the zone for White Sands Phase 4 from R110 single-family residential to open space on approximately 1.29 acres, generally located north of the White Sands Phase 3 residential subdivision and just south of the Nature Conservancy, which is the White Dome. So here's an aerial view just for orientation. Here's Family Dollar, here's River Road, and here's the Arizona border. The site is approximately in here, and then here's the airport over here. So again, a little better view, you can see the development that's occurring in here, all of the new homes off of White Dome Drive. The general plan, all of the green area is open space, and this orange-colored narrow ribbon here is the location of the zone change. I think it's about 30 feet wide. But again, you'd come down River Road here, you'd come in through the development, you get to the residential here, and all of this lighter yellow color is lower density residential, and this is the request. So looking at it this way, this shows open space, it shows the land that would have the zone change. And then a little better view of it you can kind of see here, and you can see some of the subdivision tracting that's going on. In a way, it's unusual because we usually don't go backwards like this to go usually you'll see OS go to R110, but you're going R110 to OS. And I think any applicant might comment on it. I think they're trying to do a private trail or a bike travel route in there. So that is basically it, and that concludes staff's comments.
Questions on this for Ray, council?
The trail is the issue really down that they want to put in there. And
change the zone to support it.
Yeah. And you know what? This is going to be close to that new fire station on Commerce, isn't it? It'll serve that area.
It will. Ready for motion, council?
Motion to approve the ordinance changing the zone for White Sands Phase 4 from R110 to open space on approximately 1.297 acres.
Second.
Motion by Jimmy, second by Betty. Any discussion? All in favor, starting with Ed this time, say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. That's great. Thank you.
Okay.
I come with a PowerPoint today. Okay, this is item number 12, to consider approval of an ordinance amending the TNZ Resort Zone Plan Development Traditional Neighborhood Zone for the Desert Color Residential Plan Development Phase 2 and 3. This is for the first resort space in Desert Color. It's about 17.11 acres. And here's general aerial sandwiched in between I-15 and Southern Parkway. This is the entire development, and this is the area we're looking at right now, right to the east of the first lagoon that was approved at the last city council meeting. So we've got two phases going on here, a total of 137 units. The density will be about 8 units per acre. This slide here is showing the colors that are yellow. Those are the single-family dwelling units. We're not going to be talking about those. Those will be staff approved at a later time. And this orange color here, those are attached single-family homes. So, and the applicant does not have any product for those right now. So we will be back hearing those when they're ready to develop those. But for right now, we're just going to be talking about these other developments here. I've got it kind of separated into different buildings, building A, B, C, and D, for the different types of units, and they all have different numbers of units within each dwelling type. I do want to mention that all of these units in this entire area will be eligible for short-term rental. This is the Building A, which were the little blue area. This will be two 16-plex buildings for a total of 32 units. The units will be 3 stories. The first 2 stories will be the living area, and the third level will basically be like an open patio. That will be their outdoor space. They also have porches in the front of their homes as well, but this is kind of a cool idea here. They've got a lot of outdoor space up on the rooftop. They will have a pool that will be shared between the 2 buildings, and it will only have access to them, to these 2 buildings. Building B, which is the purple-colored one, there will be 25 units of these, and they will be triplexes and fourplexes. They will be 2 stories. They both have open areas in the front, and then they also have a second level of an open area for the buildings. They also have, the units either have a 1-car or a 2-car garage. Building C, which is this pink area, there will only be 8 units of these. They will be duplexes, and they will have a detached garage. Let me go to the floor plans here. They will have a detached 2-car garage, and above the garage, the owners will have the option to put in a carriage house, which will allow for a second dwelling unit within their property. And these are the final buildings, Building D. These will be 5 units. They will be duplexes as well. This one, I do want to mention, let me go back. When we presented this to the Planning Commission felt good about all of the options shown, except for they did have a problem with Building D. There was some of the detail that they felt was off. This picture that you're seeing right now is let's see, this is the old one. Oh, of course it didn't change. I went and changed it and it didn't change. Okay, well, they did improve the fronts of these and add on additional porches. There's a little bit more, well, I shouldn't say a little bit, there's quite a bit more detail in the fronts. But these ones will be fronting the lagoon, and the Planning Commission felt that they needed more shade areas and they needed a little bit more detail on the buildings, which the applicant has actually provided. Let's see. There's the floor plans. As far as parking goes, total required for this the parking we are going to be approving tonight, or you are going to be looking at tonight, is for this entire area, phases 2 and 3. For both those areas, they would be required to put in 310 parking spaces, which includes the guest parking. They are proposing 324 spaces. And they will be required to cover the parking spaces for these 16-plex units because they don't have garages. The applicant has they brought in something this morning to show me the updated parking plan, and they do plan on putting covered parking actually in these 2 lots here. This is the material board. There's some stuff behind you as well. There's quite a few different materials. Each of the options that I showed, it's not going to be like, for example, the 25 units in the triplexes and fourplexes. It won't be all the exact same color. They will be able to choose different colors, so it won't be so monotonous. There will be variety in that. When we did present this to the Planning Commission, they did recommend approval. These were staff's recommendations. You do have them in your packet. And in addition to this, Planning Commission did add a couple more conditions, which were the first one was for each unit to comply with the design guidelines found in the Desert Color Zoning Plan and in the T&Z zoning regulations. And the second one was that the westerly side of Building D provide additional shade. And I apologize, I don't have that updated photo in there, but they did add in 2 more, an additional shade area in that west side. So that's what I have tonight. Planning Commission and staff both recommend approval. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
So you said it's all short-term excuse me, short-term rental, but no RV parking.
No RV parking, no. They're eligible for short-term rental, yes, all of them.
Any other questions, council?
And the applicant is here if you have any questions for the applicant.
You know, as we did all the initial, approvals for this, I think we've seen and have a pretty good idea for what was going to come before us. These are just getting into some of the, the details and making some really fairly minor changes, but getting into the details. So if there are no questions, council, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to amend the PDTNZ Resort Zone for Desert Color Residential Plan Development Phase 2 and 3 of the first Desert Color Resort space with the recommendations by staff and Planning Commission.
Second.
Motion by Michelle with a second by Ed. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay.
It's an ordinance, it said.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it is an ordinance. Thanks, Michelle. So starting with Ed this time, say aye.
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 Okay, motion carries unanimously. Got to do it right. Now, number 13.
Yeah, number 13 is a request to consider approval of preliminary plat for Desert Color Resort Phase 2-3. This preliminary plat is for a 137-lot residential subdivision located east of I-15 and south of Southern Parkway and west of Desert Color Parkway. As Carol said, zoning is PD TNZ Resort. All lots are eligible for short-term rental. So I won't go over this too much, as Carol already did a good job of that. Basically, all the roads would be in here would be private. Everything would be private, basically, as it's that resort area. They are out. This is the Atkinville Wash that runs along the north side of it, and you can see here are the floodway lines of the Atkinville Wash and the 100-year floodplain. So they are staying out of all of that. And that's all, unless you have any questions.
Questions on this preliminary plat?
Nope. Motion to approve the preliminary plat for Desert Color Resort Phase 2 and 3.
Motion by Michelle with a second by Joe. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. I've got to leave to go to this other event, and I'm on the front row, so I think I'm going to go right now. And I'll turn the time over to, thank you, I'll turn the time over to Jimmy. And Jimmy promises he'll have you out of here really fast. There will not be a need for a closed meeting tonight, to my knowledge, Adam. And we'll see you all tomorrow at 3 p.m. at the groundbreaking for Switchpoint.
Yes.
Yes. Right? It hasn't changed again, has it? Yeah.
The groundbreaking, did you say?
Groundbreaking for the Switchpoint affordable
Riverwalk.
housing, Riverwalk. So it's out by the Smiths. Blackhawk, by Blackhawk.
Yep.
Greyhawk, whatever, one of those colors.
Have fun.
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock tomorrow.
I got a small list of things we're going to go over now. I'm teasing. Go ahead, item 14. Yeah.
Okay, item 14 is a request to consider approval of preliminary plat for Arancio Point at DeVario, which was previously known as the Lakes. The DeVario community was formerly known as Lake Subdivision. It's for a 48-lot residential subdivision located west of Plantations Drive at the extension of Sunbrook Drive to the west. Zoning is R110. So here's the location over here. It's kind of along the west boundary line of St. George, or it is along the west boundary line of St. George. Here's the subdivision right through here. There is a fair amount of grade change through here. They will be dedicating these open spaces to the city as their development progresses, and that was kind of the intent of the original agreement. The one thing they did talk about, they're using these washes also as corridors for their drainage. You can see right here they have some drainage lines that low point in the road that collect it and take it here and here. There is one proposal that Parks has suggested. They will be building trails through here, just like a 4-foot kind of a mountain bike trail kind of thing, and for pedestrians. The one thing that Parks is looking at, and they're trying to work with the developer, is the possibility of, instead of these trails coming up to the roadway, elevation of the road, possibly doing culverts not culverts, it's kind of like an arch culvert is what they're hoping to do in these areas here, so that if you're biking down through here or walking, you can come down through here and just cross underneath the road. The proposal is to use the cost of what the developer would put in for his drainage and to offset the cost of those arches. And so you may see that in the next year or so, where they try to budget for that and do that with that development.
That's not subject to what we approved here today, or?
No, I'm just kind of giving you advance notice that that's Parks' plan, is they would like to do that. Obviously, they'll have to go through the budget process with you, but you may see that in their budgeting items that they would like to try to do that. And again, the developers said, yeah, he would use his cost to help offset the cost of that, the cost that he would have for his drain lines. There is, here's another look at it. There is one caveat on this one. So this one is right here. And I'll try to do this better than I did at Planning Commission, because when I looked up, they all had glassy eyes and I knew I did a bad job. Anyways, these lines, so here is the one we're looking at here, Oroncio Point. These represent pressure zones. Right now, there is a water line that will service this area here. The water line, based on the hydraulic model that Rosenberg has done, has indicated they can provide a pressure of 50 psi here and 40 psi here, which is the minimum. In meeting with the water department, they felt like, yeah, that's a hydraulic model. Does it really do real conditions? So they're comfortable with this one going forward right now with only the water line that's there. They are going to put in another line that comes from the gap tank, and it'll come over here and provide a redundant feed as well as some more pressure. And there's some things the water department needs to do to their system to help this. And so this area here, when the line is, and they're going to do that as soon as they can, when that line comes through as a redundant feed, it'll provide a pressure of 50 pounds here, and so that would meet what they're required. So once that line comes in, right now this could plat right now, once the improvements are in. This could plat without any problem. They feel comfortable with it once that water line's connected. This area here is between 40 and 50, and they're not comfortable letting that go just with the connection. And so what they'll do is they'll actually go out and monitor and take some real-time data and make sure that in the summer months, which is their harder months to reach pressure, that they do have that pressure here. And so you'll see some, all of this may reach that and they can provide water, or you may see some of this and they'll just kind of vary depending on the testing that they do. And so that's just one condition that this is subject to, is these three pressure zones here. And I know if what? No, so if you see right here, and this right here, right now, based on their model, is just under 40 psi right here, in this next subdivision will do. And so this right now, the intention is it won't develop until they build another tank that would then provide the pressure to service this area. No, it would be the developer would be doing that based on the needs that he has for his development. Now, if the city wanted to upsize it, that would be at their they would have to go through that process. But yeah, the developer would have to provide that for them. And so, no, to your question, no, if some of these, if you only got to this point here and these couldn't develop, they just have to wait for the tank to come online.
So that's what you're asked, that's the condition that's going to happen?
Yeah, so yes, the yellows could go forward right now. These others, we'd wait until that second line is provided for not only redundancy, but also for pressure, and then we would check it at that time.
And staff will be all over that, monitoring and all
Yeah,
that.
so they'll work with the water department. Again, they're going to do some tweaks to their system to help improve the pressure in this area. And then also they'll go out and do some data testing with their engineer and verify that, kind of work with the model and so forth.
Good. Big project, a lot of things to be worked through. Any questions?
You're acquainted with the applicant on this?
Pardon?
You're acquainted with the applicant on this application?
Yeah, so they know about it. He's here if you'd like to ask him any questions, but yeah, we discussed this with him a number of times, correct?
You're good with the 40?
Well, they just felt comfortable when it was in the 50 PSI range, because then they felt like, if the model's off a little bit, they'll still provide the minimum. So when they got to the less than 50, they weren't so comfortable, and so they wanted some analysis done and that second feed brought over, so.
So you're satisfied with the water pressure for fire hydrants and so
Right,
forth?
right. They are, for the yellow areas especially, and then as they go forward, we'll do some testing and make sure that those lots that can develop that can provide that pressure.
And because I was to another meeting, Divario is Italian and it means the gap.
Correct.
Oh,
That's
nice.
the only thing I learned all week.
And the tank currently that provides service to this tank, or this development, is called the Divario tank. Actually, it's called the Gap tank.
What does Oroncio mean, Joe?
It's another word in Italian and somebody will explain it.
Yeah, good luck.
I know what point means.
You said Rosenberg was involved in this?
Yeah, Rosenberg's the engineer on this, and yeah, correct. And the only other thing I would just mention is, these areas where they do have to grading in these open space areas, we'd look for them to revegetate those and not just leave them kind of scarred up in those areas, to try to get it back to what the open space looks like, because that would be going to the city eventually.
No pressure, but I'm ready for a motion if you have no other questions.
Oh, you're so funny. Motion to approve the preliminary plat for Oroncio Point at Divario, subject to the second water line being installed.
Right.
Second.
We have a motion by Michelle, a second by Joe. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 15.
Okay, let me just show you that one. Okay, item 15 is a request to consider approval of a preliminary plat for Rosalia Ridge at Divario. The Divario community was formerly again known as the Lake Subdivision. Preliminary plat is for a 48-lot residential subdivision located west of Plantation Drive at the extension of Sunbrook Drive to the west. Zoning is R110. Lot size averaging will be requested on this. So this is right here on their deal. So this is this development, the one I just showed you. The only changes from Planning Commission on their preliminary plat was they pulled these roads back a little bit to provide adequate sight distance at these intersections. So if you pull up here, you can see down here, have an adequate sight distance to make your decision to turn onto the road. And then the road was to stub here. They've changed it and pushed it to here. Again, this would be open space area, and we'd look to them to revegetate that. The request was to keep this as open space, and look at and save that as an open space. It kind of has a dry waterfall that's kind of in there that we looked at when we went out there with the Hillside, and so for now they've said yes, we'll try to keep that open. They do have some concerns, but for now they'll try to keep that as open space. And again, it's under the same thing. The only one on this one is you can notice that on this one they left these lots out because right now the pressure based on their hydraulic model is less than 40. So they've left these out for now, with the understanding that, and you know, it may change based on, I don't know, but currently based on the model, this could meet the 40 pounds.
Once the water's in the pipe, we'll be able to tell.
Yeah, once you get the water there and you get that second feed over there and they do some tweaks to their system, it may change somewhat, that maybe some of these can be developed, but they'd come back through with a different preliminary plat. Right now, they're leaving that out. So it'd be under the same condition as the last one.
Oh, same condition.
Yes.
Okay. So I will make a motion to approve the preliminary plat for Rosalia Ridge at Divario, subject to a second water line.
Motion by Michelle, second by Joe. Any discussion on the motion? See none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
So item 16 is a request to consider Approval of preliminary plat for a 4-lot residential subdivision located on 1190 South Circle west of 2580 East Street. Zone is RE 12-5. All lots within this will be 12,500 square feet. So if you look here on the aerial map, this is the area where they do the 4 lots. The blue line here represents the erosion hazard line, so they will fall within that erosion hazard line. So with their development, they'll have to provide an erosion hazard study, and then any mitigation that's required per that study would then be part of the subdivision improvements that would be installed. Again, it would be these 4 lots here. They would be required to provide a temporary turnaround right here. This is not their property, but they've been working with the property owner here, and he has agreed to allow them to put a temporary turnaround here on their property and give an easement to the city for that temporary turnaround. So it would be a condition that they have to provide that temporary turnaround and the erosion hazard study.
Any questions? I'll be ready for a motion if there's no questions.
Motion to approve the preliminary plat for the reserve at River Hollow Phase 5, subject to the erosion hazard study and the temporary turnaround.
Motion by Michelle, second by Joe. Any discussions on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, item 17 is a request to consider approval of preliminary plat for Sage Canyon Phases 6 and 7. The plat is for a 28-lot residential subdivision located east of River Road and south of White Dome Drive. Zone is R110. There will be a request for lot size averaging within this development. So here is the subject site. This is the Southern Hills. Here's the Southern Parkway, and here's River Road. Here's White Dome Drive that provides access. And you can see right here in the vicinity map, this is where it's located, again, Southern Parkway. So your Southern Parkway's here. It's kind of skewed a little bit, obviously. Southern Parkway's here. White Dome Drive is here. The hatched area here is area that they will be dedicating to the city against the Southern Parkway. It's for a future irrigation line, and so they've agreed to dedicate that to the city for that irrigation line. These are double fronting lots against the Southern Parkway. However, normally we would require landscaping against those, but the irrigation department or water department's requested that no landscaping be placed in there if they're going to have an irrigation line in there. They'll just kind of maintain it themselves. And then you have this hatched area here along White Dome Drive. These are double fronting lots, so they will also have a 10-foot landscape strip here and a privacy wall. However, this will be maintained by their homeowners association. They're not requesting the city to maintain it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Any questions?
This, the first one in the White Dome area was had mostly to do with the trails and so forth. This will all be residential, so the same issue. Adam, we're going to have a fire station on that road down there to serve this particular area that we're filling up with houses.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, in fact, we discussed that this morning in our staff meeting. We're always getting the updates on that and still pushing that forward.
Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the Sage Canyon Phase 6-7 as described.
Second.
Motion by Ed, second by Michelle. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, item 18 is a request for a hillside development permit to extend the northernmost boundary of the Ridge West number 4 residential subdivision. This will extend lot 58 approximately 140 feet to the north, and also the request to create a new lot 67. The zoning is R16. Let's see. So here's the subject site right here. There are the two churches here. Here's Valley View. The request. So here's lot 58. Right here, there is some undocumented fill that was placed here. The owner of this property would like to build a pool right here in this area here. Now, they have hired a geotechnical engineer. They went out and did some testing. From what they indicated in the meeting, this has been here for at least 20, 25 years. The geotech did some analysis and determined that it is stable. The slope's a little steep, but they felt like it is stable. You could do that. So there's that area there. And so the request is to take this area here that is right now is Hillside and add it to this lot here with that pool area being built right here and then creating a lot 67 here. So basically they'll need to amend and extend the Ridge West number 4 plat to extend these areas so this becomes part of lot 58 and this becomes a separate lot. They have no intention to develop, well, I shouldn't say that. They said they weren't ready to develop this lot right now. They just want to create the lot right now. So here's some photos of the lot.
No problem with getting access off that cul-de-sac on lot 67 or whatever it is?
Right here? No.
Okay.
And that's where they'd get their access. I left my paper back there, but it does meet all, within the 20 to 30, you can disturb 30%, and the 30 to 45%. They did meet with all of that. They did have the green area here that is over 40%, which is that undocumented fill. At the meeting, the Hillside recommended that, this could be not taken into account because it's man-made, and so it wouldn't be, it's already disturbed, it's there. And then this area up here, so here would be where their pool goes. This area here, on the when they amend and extend the plat, a note would be placed on there that says this is a non-disturbed, non-build area here. So to keep this open and just allow development of a pool on that area right there. They did say if you put up a fence here for the pool building code requires a 5-foot fence or a cover on your pool. If they do put a fence, that it be a see-through fence and kind of match the surroundings like a wrought iron fence or something that doesn't stand out, kind of blends in. They will have to build retaining walls here to kind of, so they will excavate some into here to build those retaining walls. You'll probably see 2-tier retaining walls. They didn't really get too concerned about how the walls would look because the walls you kind of lose the walls when you stand down here and look up. So they didn't really have any concern. They did express concern that drainage be resolved now that you're creating a pool and get it down to this road in a safe manner. And then staff recommended that on this lot, that a drainage plan come forward with the building plans to make, because there is drainage that comes off-site into this lot that needs to be conveyed to here. So we're going to request that a drainage plan be submitted with the building permit on that lot there. And I think that's it.
So will this be required to come back for an amended plat, or since they're adding a lot?
Yes, it will. It will. And before we would give the pool, that's a good comment. And so before we do the pool or anything, we'd require them to amend and extend the plat so that this area here is part of this lot, and then they could then go forward with the pool. So you should see that coming up pretty soon. And the interesting thing is this owner here actually wanted to do this, so he went and bought all of this land all the way up to Valley View so he could do his thing. So.
Yep, and they indicated to the Hillside board that the drainage is not going to be draining into the church parking lots, and
right.
They may donate that area.
Eventually the plan is to donate, like you say, to the city, all of that hillside, but they're going to wait because there's some area that they can develop along Valley View that is part of that area, so they'll wait on that till they get ready to develop that.
Okay. Any other questions?
Motion to approve a hillside development permit to extend the northernmost boundary of the Ridge West number 4 residential subdivision located at 950 West, 750 North Circle.
Second.
Motion by Michelle, second by Joe. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Anything else? Adam, we good? You got anything else? Awesome. One more motion.
Second.
Motion by Joe, second by Michelle. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And Captain McCracken's in favor. Remember, 3 o'clock tomorrow, big day, groundbreaking. It's been a long...